Straight up is 12, straight down is 6, to your left is 9, to your right is 3. Thank you for tuning in to KDOI Podcasting. I'm going to be your host, Timothy Keem O'Brien, and this is Season 2. We had a very successful Season 1 where we interviewed 12 different artists in different phases of their art. And what I mean by that is some were full-time artists, some were part-time artists, and some took a little convincing to admit that they were actually an artist. Well, now we're in Season 2, and in the first season, we did a little questionnaire for all of our artists that I even took part in, our Satanic 7 questions, and the last question to each artist was if they could do anything without regard to money, without regard to having enough time, enough resources, what would they do? And they all came up with a lot of different projects. Season 2, we're going to be doing 12 to 14 different projects. I have about 12 lined up, but I'm going to add a couple more as the season progresses. And you're going to say to yourself, well, hey, Tim, I'm not an artist. These projects are going to be, I don't want to say super simple. They're not going to be, kindergarten projects, finger painting and all that jazz. They're going to be projects that you can actually show in your home, be proud of, maybe even give as a gift to a friend or a relative or to a loved one. Instead of, going out to the big box stores, which we all do, or getting a gift card or something like that, what you can do with these is you can actually put a little thought into it, put a personalization into it, and we definitely would like to see what you come up with. We'd like to know what your challenges are, and I'm going to be honest with you, some of these projects are challenging to me too, so I'm going to let you know where I screwed up. Hopefully you don't follow that pattern. If you do, that's okay. Hey, you know what? Mistakes can be beautiful things that happen to us and make it that special little thing, instead of it's kind of like the Charlie Brown Christmas tree, you could call it. It's beautiful. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder, I guess. So, our first project, our first up, is a book clock. Now, some of you are going to say, hey, listen, a book clock? What do I need with a book clock? I've got a cell phone. I've got clocks on my wall. I've got my watch, which doubles as a phone, which doubles as a sports tracker, which doubles as my wife. Why do I need a book clock? Well, why don't you need a book clock? It can be a very personalized gift for that special someone. And it does take a little bit of time to go ahead and make that book clock. It's not something that you can, whip together in 2 minutes and, throw into a gift bag and stuff some tissue in it and go, hey, there's your anniversary gift, dear. It does take a little time, and it does take a little thought. And how much thought and time you want to put into it is completely up to you. For this first project, the book clock, the totals on it usually come in about 2 to 4 hours to get it all the way knocked out, and it's under $30. Now, you tell me where you can go get a personalized gift for your loved one for $30 or less. Yeah, I'll wait. You go ahead and think about that. See, you can't think about it. You go, well, I can get them a gift card. How personalized is that? That's not personalized at all. That's just saying, hey, listen, I don't know what you're into. You go get your gifts, and here's some money, and knock it out of the ballpark. With this gift, you can make that book clock out of any book that you want, and we'll go into details in just a little bit. But before I go into the project any further, I would like to take some time to let all my listeners know that KDOI Podcasting has joined up with GagglePod. Now, a lot of you are thinking, GagglePod, what the heck is that? Well, go to gagglepod.com, where we help folks start their own podcast, find their voice, make the process a lot simpler than what is sometimes can be a daunting task. Podcasting is not for the faint of heart, but if you're willing to go ahead and take some classes, to invest some time, and invest a little bit of your hard-earned cash, by all means, podcasting is a wonderful. Well, some people do it as a hobby, some people do it as a passive income, and some people just quit their day job and do it full time. So that's completely up to you. But GagglePod is now the network partner with KDOI Podcasting. So look for great things to come from our network partners at GagglePod, which also includes in our network is the Merchants of Dirt and Podfader. Two great podcasts. Merchants of Dirt and Podfader, both done by Kyle Bondo. He is my guru. He's my podcasting guru. So thank you, Kyle, for getting me back into this. And what Merchants of Dirt for me is it does talk about off-road racing. Now, I'm not talking about anything with tires or anything like that. I'm talking about, doing the runs, doing the bikes, all that kind of good stuff, getting good and dirty, as Kyle liked to say. And it's more than racing. He talks a lot of philosophy in that, and how to set up the race, and things you need to pay attention while you're doing that race. So go over to Merchants of Dirt and check it out. You can reach it from going to gagglepod.com. Now, Podfader, that is all about podcasting. From start to finish, it is all about how to do your podcast. And, a term that we use in the podcasting world, podfading, is, when your podcast kind of goes away, kind of fizzles out and has a little death there. And that might be a good thing, because maybe you need some time to take a break, to relax and regroup, rearm, and jump in a different direction. Now, that can be true for podcasting, and that can be true for real life. So check out Podfader on the GagglePod network. And thank you for that musical interlude from DJ Vulture. He is still with us here, folks. He is a wonderful DJ. We love the work that he does for us. And, of course, we've got some new logos to take a look at. And we have new music for this season. So enjoy the new music. Let us know what you think. KDOIpodcasting at gmail.com is how to get a hold of us. Or you can get us on Twitter at... the @ KDOI _podcasting. We do have a Facebook page if you want to join up with that. And, of course, you can always go to KDOIpodcasting.com, and that is your source for all things KDOI. So let's get back into the book clock, shall we? All right. So a lot of you are going to say, hey, Tim, where did you get the idea for this book clock? Well, it's kind of simple. I listen to podcasts myself. I have on my podcatcher, I've got about, I would say, just shy of 80 podcasts that I listen to. And one of them is The Art of Manliness. Now, folks, I'm not, saying that it's a man's world. I think somebody else said it a lot better than I did. But The Art of Manliness teaches us men how to be men. And how to act in a more masculine way. Not a macho way, but a masculine way. And that's run by Brett McKay. Brett McKay does a fantastic job. His podcast is wonderful. By all means, go check out The Art of Manliness on iTunes, on any of your podcatchers. Knock that out for yourself. But I got this idea of this project off of one of his podcasts, and he was talking about how you can make your own gifts and make them personalized. And I saw this book clock, and immediately I said, hey, I've made clocks in the past. I have my discount over at Michael's. So let's go ahead and knock that out for ourselves and make this happen. So we went ahead and I took down his instructions for doing it. Now, I've done clocks in the past with just wooden panels, but this book clock, I saw that, and immediately my wife came to mind. She is a voluminous reader. It is just amazing how many books she has. And it's almost a sin of what I'm going to tell you to do. And when she first saw me doing this, she about hit the floor. So this is, like I said, it's going to take you about 2 to 4 hours. It's going to be under $30 for what you're going to need. Now, some of the stuff I'm going to assume that you naturally have around the house. And so we're going to go through what you're going to need. First, you're going to need one hardcover book. Thicker the better. 2 inches or more should do the trick. You want to make sure that your book is thick enough to accept the Clockworks. You're also going to need one Clockworks, and you can pick that up at Michael's, Hobby Lobby, other places. You know, your basic craft stores, you can pick them up. Hobby Lobby, Michael's, not sponsors of this show. You'll need one AA battery to run the Clockworks. Crazy glue, super glue or crazy glue, and it's important that you get super glue or crazy glue and that it dries clear. You'll need a box cutter, and you will need a drill bit with a 3/4 inch or a 3/8 inch bit. Now, if you're looking at the show notes, the very first picture there kind of lays out all the accoutrement that you are going to need, all the tools that you're going to need, except for the drill bit and the crazy glue. Because when I first did this, and here's where I made my first error, folks, I used Gorilla Glue. Gorilla Glue is not a sponsor of the show, neither is Crazy Glue, but Gorilla Glue kind of expands and dries yellow. So you want to be careful of that. Make sure your Crazy Glue or your Super Glue is drying clear. So once you've assembled all of that, you want to go ahead and drill the hole in the book for where you want the post for your Clockworks to go. Now, as you can see in the book that I have here, the reason I got it is mainly because of the little figure on the front there. It looked kind of cool. It's a guy stepping over somebody else, and I thought, well, what better place than to put the post for the Clockwork right above his head. So you can see there I drilled that out, and the reason why you want either a 1/4 inch or a 5-inch drill bit is because that's the size of the post. On the Clockworks, it'll tell you what the size of the post is. You may want to go up a 1/4 inch on your drill bit size. What's going to happen is once you drill through, and what I'm showing you here is the 1/4 inch, you're going to drill through, and you're probably going to want to do it the opposite way that I did it. I went with the drill bit going through the face of the book. You probably want to open up that cover and pop it through that way. But you can clean that up with your box cutter right there. And that's basically what I did. And because I used a 1/4 inch drill bit for that 1/4 inch post, I had to go around and around and around to kind of dig that out. So you might want to do yourself a favor, go a 1/4 inch up from the post size that you're going to get. Now, step 2 is you want to mark out the Clockworks in the actual book itself on the pages, on the front page. Grab a pen, grab a pencil, whatever it is, and then once you do that, start cutting. Step 3, start cutting. You can see my Clockworks in there. I just kept on cutting through, and what will happen is you want to cut deep enough into the book. That's why I'm saying you want to get, at least 2 inches But make sure you measure your Clockworks to see how deep your Clockworks is. You want to get at least 2 inches in there, and you want that Clockworks, the face of that Clockworks right there, to be flush with probably the very top page, maybe just shy of that top page, to give yourself a little extra clearance. So as you can see in that next picture there, you can see that I've already cut it out and dropped in the Clockworks there. Now that Clockworks will have a little loop area at the top, and that's normally where you're going to be putting your nail, so that way you can hold up your clock. If you want, you can cut that off so that way you can have a perfect square there. For me, it didn't really matter to me. It was just fine. I left that in there, and I didn't want to go ahead and break my box cutter on that. Step 4: place the Clockworks in battery in the book. And step 5: place the numerals for the clock. Now, you'll see in the next picture there, my numerals aren't evenly spaced out. Folks, by all means, space it out. Get a ruler, take your time. Straight up is 12, straight down is 6, to your left is 9, to your right is 3, and then just kind of divvy it up from there. And the other thing the other tool you might want to use is your needle nose pliers to hold the numerals in place. Measure it out if you want to be anal retentive about it. Myself, I was like, you know what? It's a beautiful mistake. Let's make this happen. Put a battery in the clock and set the time. And you should be running. Make sure you are putting the battery in the correct way. That is vital. The correct way, folks, for that battery. And as you can see, that is the finished project right there. And I think it turned out okay. We could do a little bit better placement of the numerals, and I think that'll be fine. Maybe a little bit deeper on the cutting for the Clockworks would be a little bit fine, but it doesn't really matter because that book is going to be holding it up. Now, total cost for the project. Well, that book cost me $5. The Clockworks cost me $13. The Crazy Glue cost me about $2. You should have a drill bit. If you don't have a set of drill bits, go out to any of your big box stores. Lowe's does not sponsor me. Home Depot does not sponsor me, and True Value does not sponsor me. So go anywhere. Heck, you can go to Walmart. Also, don't sponsor me. And grab yourself an assortment of drill bits. You should get a good assortment for about $10, I would say, and you'll be able to use them on other projects. For me, it took about 2 hours. Now, the longest part was cutting up the pages and making sure that those were cut just fine. You can be anal retentive about it, and just cut each page individually. I chose not to. I chose to go ahead and kind of do a plunge cut with my box cutter, and I thought that was just fine. My lessons learned on this, again, use Crazy Glue. Don't use Gorilla Glue, because Gorilla Glue is going to get kind of yellow and it's going to expand. Also, tweezers, needle nose pliers to place the numerals where you want them to go and actually measure them out. That little extra touch means so much more. This clock is actually going to be a clock that I either have in my man cave or I take with me to my office just as a conversation piece. I didn't even read the book that was part of the project. And that's one thing that you can do to personalize it. If you have your friend that has a hardcover book that they really enjoy, or a book that they really enjoy and there's a hardcover edition, you can go to any of the major booksellers, and you can grab a lot of the classics. You can get them in a hardcover. By all means, knock it out. Find out what your friend likes, or what your wife likes, or what your dad likes. Whoever you're making this gift for, find out that the book they want, and just say, hey, what are you reading? What are you into? And knock that out for yourself. Like I said, the total time on that for me was about 2 hours, and On the next slide there, if you're following along in the show notes, I actually took the time and went ahead and placed out the numerals and used the crazy glue like I was supposed to. And that's the one that I gave for my wife. It's black and it's kind of got red wrapping around the binding there. It looks really nice, and she has it in her office and uses it all the time. Now, like I said, she is a big book collector. Our office upstairs is it's a library. She's got about 100 books on loan from the public library, and she's probably got about 20 books in my name on loan from the library. So she is a huge fan of books. And when I told her, hey, listen, I'm going to be cutting up a book, she about flipped out. And I said, wait a minute, it's going to be something you haven't read, you're not going to read. And as soon as she opened that up on Christmas Day, she absolutely loved it. Now, an alternate thing that you could do, and I've done this in the past, on the next slide there, you'll see it's kind of a little wooden plaque, and the same thing goes with this one. And I gave this to my stepson, and I made sure that the plaque had a way to hang it on the wall. There's some twine on the back of it, so that was, it's good enough to hang on the wall that way. Or you can get, I know that Michael's has it, you can get a little picture holder and cradle it in there, cradle your clock in there, and that adds just an extra little flair to it as well. But I made that one for my stepson, and he's got it in his room, and he loves, every time he comes for a visit, he loves looking at it, and that is something that I made with my own hands for him. Now, here's the thing, folks. This only works if you go and do it. These book clocks are wonderful. They're a wonderful way to do it. You can, go and go on Amazon, probably find something similar to that, but it's not going to have the personalization that you can put into it. And like I said, total time on this for me, 2 hours. I would budget 2 to 4 hours on this for yourself, and just go out there and make that happen for your loved ones. Definitely shoot a picture of that and shoot it on over to us at kdoipodcasting@gmail.com. We'd love to go ahead and feature that on a future episode. And heck, if you want to come on the show and talk about what you made and how you made it, by all means shoot me an email, and I will be more than happy to go ahead and schedule with you and get you on the show here. So for this episode, we talked about our book clock, and I hope you go ahead and give it a shot. It's not too detailed, as you see there. It's only about 7 steps. It's about 7 steps to get this bad boy knocked out for yourself. Well, I'm looking forward to talking with you all in the next 2 weeks. We're still going on the 2-week schedule, so every other Saturday we will be up and at it at 7 in the morning. Now, of course, you can listen to this podcast anytime you darn well please. But the other thing is, folks, you need to share it with your friends. If you've got a friend that is a little bit of a crafty kind of person, shoot this episode on over to them. Say, hey, listen, check this out. This might be a good project for you. Or, hey, let's do this together. It's a perfect craft for couples to go ahead and knock out. Or do it for your kids if you want to get them back into reading. Make them a book clock. Why the heck not? Books aren't just for reading anymore, folks. They're art. And we definitely want to create more than we consume. All right, my name is Timothy Keem O'Brien. It's been a pleasure talking with you here today. Make sure that you're subscribing to us through iTunes and through all the podcatchers out there. We're on Stitcher, we're on Libsyn, we're on Pocket Casts, we're on Spotify, we're on iHeartRadio. We're all over the place, folks. So check us out. And also remember to check out our network at gagglepod.com. GAGGLEPOD.com, Gagglepod, where we go ahead and ignite your passion into podcasting. Thank you all, and have a great 2 weeks. it's kind of like the Charlie Brown Christmas tree, you could call it.